All right, guys, welcome back. Now, I know this video was supposed to be buttoning up the engine and doing body panels and stuff like that, but we're switching gears. So as you can see, I did get the inner fenders all painted. We got a brand new driver's fender because I was missing it, and it came complete with a dent. So it'll match the rest of the truck. I got the core support painted. It's ready to go, but I'm still waiting on parts to do the final things in the engine bay before we start putting body panels on it. So I'm still waiting on exhaust parts and some stuff like that. So instead of doing that this video, which I really wanted to do, we're going to switch gears to the suspension and just get the suspension and brakes on the front end buttoned up. So I figured I have all the parts. Let's go ahead and get them bolted on the truck, and it'll free up some room in the garage because I got crap everywhere. So if we can get the suspension all done and the brakes while we wait on parts to show up, then we can get the next video done with getting stuff in the engine bay finalized and start getting body panels back on the truck. So you can see I've already got the control arms hanging on the frame. These are new aftermarket control arms where I swapped out the bushings for energy suspension, and let me tell you how much fun that was burning out those bushings, but I got it done. And this is the OEM control arm that was on the truck. You cannot buy these new, so I had to clean it up, put a new ball joint in it, and also did energy suspension bushings, of course. So that's all ready to go. Now I also have 2-inch BellTech drop spindles to go on here, and we're converting to 5-lug also. Now when it comes to converting these trucks to 5-lug, the 91 to 96 trucks, all you have to do is buy like 90 stuff. So we got 90 5-lug rotor and hub assembly right there. And then for the rear, we just have 5-lug axles that we'll swap into the rear end. So this video is gonna be focused more for the Dakota guys, not a lot of SRT4 stuff going on, but we got a hybrid of stuff going on the front end. So I think we should start with the tie rod ends, and let me explain what's going on. So if you've been following the build for a while, you'll know that we dropped the steering rack about, I don't know, 3, maybe 4 inches. And to get clearance for the oil pan, get the engine low enough. So my concern is the tie rod ends are going to have a crazy angle once this thing is on the ground. So I want to run a bump steer kit. But if any of you Dakota guys have ever tried to find a bump steer kit for your truck, you'll know it's impossible. Now I suppose you could probably go out and get a joint for the tie rod end and a Heim joint to go in that and all that to fit your steering rack. But I came up with another way. So the 91 to 96 trucks, the inner tie rod is a bigger thread than the older trucks. I believe it's 15 by 1.5, whereas the older trucks are 14 by 1.5. So what we got is 87 to 90 inner tie rods to replace our 91 to 96 tie rods. And yeah, they'll swap right onto your 91 to 96 rack, no problem. I'll show you. I've already got the passenger side one done. So that's an 87 to 90 inner tie rod end. And this rack is a Remand 91 to 96 rack. So yes, the inner tie rods on first gen Dakotas are interchangeable. So you can put 87 to 90 inner tie rods on a 91 to 96 rack. Now, why did I do that? Because it turns out 94 to 04 Mustang bump steer kits are a 14 by 1.5 thread. So they will thread right onto the 87 to 90 inner tie rod, and bam, we have a bump steer kit. So being able to run a Mustang bump steer kit on the Dakota fixes 2 problems: the lowered rack, and if you've ever heard anybody complain about bump steer using the BellTech drop spindles on these trucks, you'll know that it's a common problem. So running the bump steer kit is gonna fix our lowered rack issue and the fact that we're running BellTech spindles. So first thing we're gonna do is get this clamp off. We can get this clamp off and remove the boot. Now we can get this inner tie rod off. And swap in our new inner tie rod from an early truck. Threads right on there. Now I don't know if all of the early trucks, the tie rod ends have this set screw like this one does, or if it's just this aftermarket brand does, I'm not sure. You can see these tie rods have a little set screw that secures the tie rod in, I guess to keep it from coming loose, whereas the ones that were on this rack did not. All right, now it's time for a new boot. And I'm going to take some of this grease and kind of lube this up a little bit. Just makes it easier for the boot to slide on. And these have a little vent hole. So there we go, 87 to 90 inner tie rods on a 91 to 96 rack. And you can see Mustang bump steer tie rod in, threads right on there. Now, this isn't all that we have to do in order to run this. There's another problem. Now, the taper and the tie rod end boss on the spindle is bigger also on 91 and 96 trucks compared to 87 and 90. So 91 and 96 trucks, the hole here in the spindle is bigger than 87 and 90. Now, I had to buy 87 and 90 specific BellTech drop spindles because I needed the smaller taper in the boss here for the tie rod end. And the reason for that is because this bump steer kit requires you to drill out that hole to 5/8 for this bolt. So that's why we need the smaller hole in the spindle compared to the 91-96, because in the 91-96 you cannot drill out to 5/8 because I believe it's already bigger. So a recap on the tie rod ends before we move on to the other stuff. If you want to run a Mustang bump steer kit, you need 87 to 90 inner tie rods and 87 to 90 spindles. Now there are Mustang bump steer kits that come with actual tapers on the bolt. I don't think those fit the Dakota spindles either year, so that's why I went with just the bolt style where we drill it out to 5/8 and just run a straight bolt through the spindle. And of course these kits come with 2 different size bolts and a bunch of spacers so we can dial in how much spacing we need from the spindle to the tie rod end. That way, hopefully, we can keep this tie rod end level as possible and not all the way up here like that, because that is no good. We want it as level as possible. All right, next up is we got to put the springs in so we can put the spindle on, and I've heard this can be a pain in the butt. So I got new replacement 4-cylinder springs and new upper isolators to go in the truck. So let's get these unboxed and attempt to put them in there. All right, here's my setup. So I have an internal spring compressor in there. It's this one right here. We're just not using this fork. But you can see I only got one hook on the back side, and that's because we need this spring to curve. Because naturally once it's in here, it's going to curve like this. So we need the back side to squish so we can get the end right there back in there in the pocket of the control arm. So I got that going on. I got a jack under the control arm, and I have a ratchet strap pulling on the spring to keep it that way. Got it fully seated up in the frame, so here we go. Okay, so this is working, but you can see I don't have that end right there lined up. It's a little too far turned, so I wanted to loosen up and redo it, but that process did work. It curved it perfectly so that it goes back in the control arm like that. I just didn't have it aligned right, so here we go again. Okay, I got her aligned. I think we're going right in there. Yes, we are. Okay, we are in the pocket. Starting to lift the truck. I don't know if it's enough. No, not enough. Oh, we might have it right there, guys. Okay, that's good. We can tighten those ball joint nuts up later. Let's get rid of the bomb out of the spring. All right, I got the spring compressor out of there. We can slowly let out our jack. Get the truck back on the jack stands. All right. There we go. Spring is in. And it looks to be lined up back there. Oh yeah, so there you go. That's how you do the springs on a two-wheel drive first gen Dakota. Spring compressor in the middle. Pull up on the inside of the spring. Use a ratchet strap or a come along or something to pull that spring towards the middle of the truck as far as you can. And then tighten down the spring compressor as you lift the control arm. Just make sure the jack pad is on something where it's not going to slip off. I just used the bottom of the spring pocket right here, so it cupped that. And we got a spring in. Just don't be like me and not have that spring lined up for the control arm, because you don't want to be stuck doing the same side twice. So if you think you have the end of the spring lined up perfectly for the control arm, for that little groove for the spring to sit in, maybe turn it back just a little bit so you have plenty of room, because you don't want to be cranking on that spring compressor and get it all the way compressed only to find out you're not lined up. So I got the ball joint nuts tightened down, so now we can throw our caliper bracket on here. I'm just going to use a little bit of blue Loctite on these bolts. All right, I got my bearing packed with grease, so we can go and slide that in there. Just like that. And then now we can tap our seal in. Now slide the rotor on here. Then I got my outside bearing all packed with grease. We can slide that one on there. Just like that. Followed by the washer and our nut. And we just want to put a little bit of preload on those bearings. You don't want to crank it tight. That might be a little bit too much. Maybe just a touch more. That feels pretty good. Then we have the little cap that goes on, followed by our cotter pin. All right, there's one rotor down. And we can get the pads on and the caliper on. Okay, I got my pads loaded in the caliper. These are Power Stop Z23s. So they are carbon fiber ceramic. All right, rotor and caliper are on. Now, this was a 6-lug truck because it is a 95 and we converted to 5-lug. So all these are is 90 rotors from a 1990 truck, the bigger rotors. I think you can only use the bigger rotors on the newer trucks, whereas the older first gens you could have a smaller 10-inch disc or 11-inch disc. So these are the bigger 11-inch discs from a 90 Dakota, bolts right onto your 91 to 96, and then you have 5-lug. And then these calipers are reman calipers I bought, and all I did was paint them and added a speed bleeder back there. And it looks pretty good. Kind of going with the gold on black theme of the whole truck, at least underneath anyway. I didn't want to paint the calipers red, and I didn't want to paint them black because they kind of disappear back there. And I didn't want to paint them silver because they just blend in with the rotor. So I thought, what's something different? And I settled on gold. So what do you guys think? I think they're going to look good. So now I'm looking to put the brake lines on, and I'm kind of having an issue. I cannot sit this flat on the caliper because it's hitting up here in the ball joint nut. So I'm going to have to bend this line so it kicks it out maybe like that between the frame and the spindle here, so that this will sit flush on the caliper. And it's doing that on both sides, and I even compared my factory brake lines to these new aftermarket lines, and they have the same bends. So I did try to do some reading on the Facebook groups and the forums to see if anybody else had to modify their brake lines for the BellTech drop spindles, but I didn't find anybody who mentioned modifying the brake lines. Now, it makes sense that they would need modified because the whole caliper and rotor assembly is now 2 inches higher up on the spindle, which puts this brake line sitting higher, whereas before it'd be way down here with no issues. So I'm gonna pull these off and do a little bendy on them. Well, that worked out perfectly. So now we got plenty of clearance. It's not touching, and clears that spindle nut and everything. So that'll work. Now I just have to do the other side because it's the same situation over there. But now we can do the shocks. All right, so what I'm using is just a KYB gas adjust replacement shock. These are stock replacements. I know we are lowering the truck 2 inches, but we're doing that with the spindle. We're not changing the geometry of the control arms and springs, so a stock height shock should do the job. If these seem to be too weak, we will look into that after the thing drives. So now with the shock done, I threw in a energy suspension bump stop. Next thing we need to do is drill out this spindle to fit this 5/8 bolt, because that will be what connects our Mustang bump steer tie rod end to the spindle. All right, here we go. All right, that wasn't too bad. So there we go. Now we can't set this up yet until we get the truck on its full weight on the ground. Then we can see where our angle is, and I'll determine how many spacers we have to run in here. And when we do that, we'll have to torque all the bolts for the lower control arm and the upper control arm. Like I said, we got to do all that once there's full load on the suspension. So we're going to leave all that stuff loose for right now, but at least we have the suspension all buttoned up, ready to go. Only one thing I really wanted to do was a sway bar. I did add the brackets, but it's just not in the budget right now. And not having sway bars is definitely not going to keep us from driving it. So that may be something I add later on after the truck drives and stuff. We can do front and rear sway bars. I really want to get the BellTech kit for the front and rear. So we'll see. So the next video for sure, we're going to button a few things up in the engine bay, get the core support on, get the inner fenders on, start getting an idea of how the wiring is going to work, because that's the biggest project that comes after we get the engine bay all kind of back together. I don't think we'll hang the fenders quite yet, just so we can have room to work, because it's nice not having anything up here. But having the inner fenders in here, core support, and get the radiator in. I got new lights. All the lights can go in. Bumpers on the way. So all that kind of stuff we can get done, hopefully, in the next video. And then after that, like I said, we're wiring it and get this thing wired. We got a lot of wiring to do. We have the engine harness, engine bay harness, the full dash harness. I want to put the SRT4 cluster in the stock dash, so we have that to do. But it's time to start getting cracking on this thing. I got a tune ordered, so tuner's ready to go. He's just waiting on me to say I'm ready for the first start. But that's going to do it for this one. Appreciate you guys for watching. The truck's really going to start coming together here soon. So hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Don't forget the bell, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hey, you gonna do some work out here or what? Let's go.